Hey there, my friends. It's Jen Pitta with By the Shore Stamping. Welcome into another edition of Teach Me Tuesday. I just couldn't stand it anymore, you guys. I had to play with the new Gnome stamp set. This was one of the first things on my list, actually on my order, when the new catalog came out. I don't know what it is, but I'm just obsessed with these little gnomes. They're just so stinking cute. So I colored the little gnome first. I knew I wanted to play with her because I just thought she was cute and I liked the You're a Friend Like No Mother. So that was what I wanted to work with. So I colored her first and I put her on the Stitched So Sweetly dies. I actually layered a couple of the dies from that same set together. This is a must-have die set if you don't have this one already. It's called Stitched So Sweetly. It has a stamp set that coordinates. You can actually buy them in a bundle. We used it in a class, to-go class a couple months ago, the So Sentimental stamp set, which is all mostly greetings. So it has a lot of greetings that pair with these dies. But I love it for stamped images too. So I used one of the scalloped squares and this larger frame, and I paired those together to give me my focal point for this card. So that was one of the things I used. And then I also pulled in the Plaid Tidings Designer Series paper, which is really fun. It's kind of versatile because it's got all different colors and patterns. And so you can see it works for Halloween, it works for Christmas, it works for kind of everyday stuff. So it's really excellent pack of paper to have in your arsenal because it's going to have a lot of versatility for you. So those are kind of the basic products I used for today's card. So let's go ahead and show you how I did that. So I'm starting with an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of thick Whisper white cardstock, and I scored that at 4 1/4, and I'm just going to give it a good crease with my bone folder. So that's kind of the base. And then what I did is I took one sheet of the 6 by 6 paper and I just cut it in half. So it's actually 3 by 6 is what I did. And then I just cut off the bottom so that it is even with the card. So it's actually 3 by 5.5. So I didn't waste much paper from this. So this is a great layout to use if you want to use up your paper. You could even divide it up into smaller pieces too, so that you could actually get maybe 4 cards out of it. So cut these each in half. So it'd be 1.5 by 5.5, and you'd get 4 strips you could use for your cards if you wanted to kind of use a little bit more or get a little more bang for your buck that way. But I wanted to use the paper kind of as a focal point, so I used the bigger piece of paper. And I'm going to just go ahead and tape this down to the front of my card base. Oops, I kind of missed a little there, so I'll just trim that off. Oh, can't get my scissors to work, so I'm just going to trim that there. My color scheme for this is kind of all over the board in terms of coloring, but the colors that I used on the actual card are the Plaid Tidings DSP, the Seaside Spray cardstock, Pear Pizzazz cardstock, and Whisper White. And I'm going to go ahead and just tape this layer. I didn't pop this one at all, so I'm just going to go ahead and tape that down to my card front. Flat. Okay, and now I'm going to do some stamping. So I'm just using Memento Black for my stamps, and as I said, I liked the You're a Friend Like No Mother for my greeting. So I cut myself, this is really tricky, but I cut myself a 1/2 inch piece by 2 1/4. You could, if you wanted to, cut it a little bit larger and then just trim it down with your trimmer. But I'm going to go ahead and be brave. Ah, look, I did it. And I went ahead and stamped it on that little 1/2 inch piece. And then I'm going to take my cute little gnome here, and I'm going to ink her up with the Memento Black, and I'm going to stamp her right in the middle of that cute little scallop rectangle. Like that. Okay. And then I'm using my Stampin' Blends for this. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and grab my card. I taped the sentiment down flat too, kind of like right about there. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that just so I don't lose it. So I'm going to line up the edge with the edge of the cardstock, and then I'm going to go ahead and put that down. And then you can see when I put this layer on top, it's going to kind of tuck just underneath it. So it will be perfect, hopefully. And then, so for colors for this, I used the ivory for her skin tone. And then I used the dark and light real red for her dress. I used the dark and light daffodil One for her hair, the light was for her hair, and the dark was for the ornaments and the star. And then I used Pear Pizzazz. I'm sorry, I used actually the light old olive, which kind of matches the Pear Pizzazz that we used for the cardstock, and then just basic black for her shoes. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick coloring job here, hopefully. So again, I used the dark Daffodil Delight for the ornaments here. And so I'm just going to do a quick little color for that. And then I used the light Daffodil Delight for her hair. So I just colored that with the lighter yellow. Okay. And then we grabbed the light Old Olive, which kind of coordinates with the Pear Pizzazz, the lighter version of Old Olive. So I'm going to go ahead and color my tree with that. Like that. Super cute. I'm not really teaching you much here, maybe a little bit about saving some paper when I told you how to cut that plaid paper, but it's really because I just love this little gnome stamp set and I had to play with it. So I figured I would share a cute little card. This wouldn't be too bad if you have a smaller list of Christmas cards to do. There is some coloring to do, but you'll see it's pretty quick. So you could do this as a mass-produced card if you want to. If you love to color, it would be a great thing to do. I love to color, so I wouldn't mind doing this as my card. So I'm just doing the ivory Stampin' Blends. This is kind of, we have an ivory and a bronze, so that's what I'm doing for her skin tone. I'm going to do that as well, and her little hands in the ivory. And then I'm going to use the light Real Red for like the apron part of her dress. And then I'll use the dark Real Red for the lower part of her dress and her arms. So I'm just coloring that in carefully, like that. Now I'm going to take the dark Real Red and we'll color in the sleeves on her dress, like that. And then the outer edges of her dress too, like that. And I probably will go over that just a little bit more, just to kind of define the difference between the light and the red a little bit. But first I'm going to take the light green again and just color in the leaves from the holly on her dress. And then I'll use the dark again for the berries in the holly. And then again, like I said, I'm just going to take the dark and go over that again, just to kind of brighten it a little bit more and make the contrast a little bit more obvious between the light and the dark. You can go over that as many times as you want to, so you can actually even do it again if you wanted to. But I'm just going to do that twice, and then I'm going to use the basic black blends for her little boots. And then that's everything we needed to do for that card, so I'll grab some dimensionals. So I'm going to flip that over, and we'll add some dimensionals here, and we'll attach that to the card. Whoops. Goodness. Okay. And like I said, we're going to just put it right in the middle of this. This is really crooked now that I'm looking at it. Let me go ahead and straighten that out. There we go. And then this will go like this, and it kind of covers up the end of that greeting. Like that. And then I did add some of the the Elegant Faceted Gems from the annual catalog. I just wanted a little bit of bling here, so I'm just going to add a couple of these to the card, like that. And then I also grabbed the braided red trim from the holiday catalog. Isn't this cute? Super, super fun. It's thin, so it's easy enough to tie in a knot, but it's got kind of like a little braid to it. I'm going to actually just tie a little tiny bitty bow here, and that will be a little accent piece on my card. If I can get it to go. There we go. I'm going to just kind of shrink it down quite a bit, like that. I'll use my scissors to trim that. So you're just using a little piece. So again, this is very resourceful if you're doing mass production, because you won't use a ton of it to create your cards, because you're only just using a little tiny bit for your bow. Okay, and then I used a glue dot to put that on. So I'm just gonna take my glue dot and I'll put my ribbon right down on top of it and then peel it off with the glue dot on the back. And I'm gonna stick that right down here on the bottom. And then I also grabbed my Wink of Stella. Where did I put that? Here it is. And I just added some glitz to the star and the ornaments on her tree. So just a little bit of sparkle there. You could add more if you wanted to, but I just wanted a little bit of glitz. So between the little embellishments and that, you can see there's some fun little interaction there. And there's your cute little card. Super fun little card. And you could actually, because there's, like I said, in that plaid paper, you could actually vary the plaid paper on it and just use a bunch of the different reds. And that would be a really cute card to kind of do as a little Christmas card, whether it's just a few for your special friends, or you could do a bunch of them as long as you get started soon, right? All right. Thanks so much for watching this week. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you again next week for Teach Me Tuesday. Bye.